You just heard Scott Moss and the $100 Handshakes with The Best I Can Do. That was Scott Moss with Big Daddy Love of the Nashville Flood. Scott was kind enough to invite me into his studio, and we talked about everything from music to business. Listen up. Today on Big Sound, Small Town, I welcome songwriter, guitarist, producer, studio owner, entrepreneur, Scott Moss to the show.
Right on, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's start.
That's a good introduction. I like that.
Yeah, if you can read it right. All right, so where did your musical journey start?
Well, I was a late bloomer. I started I was in college before I started playing out in public, and my dad played guitar and sang and wrote songs, and I I learned a little bit from him, when I first got started. But I thought I was a jock. I played football in high school, and then a little bit in college, and then when that was over, I figured I got to find another way to impress girls, so I started learning to play the guitar.
Well, it's funny. A lot of musicians were athletes. It's a timing thing,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's what it comes down to is timing. So
You don't want to let go of those glory days. That's
no, you don't. And so that kind of rolls over into music. Kind of keep yourself in the
Absolutely.
spotlight.
That's true.
So you'd learned to play guitar way before you went to college, didn't you?
No, I started when I was.
Oh, really?
When I was 21 when I started learning how to play guitar.
Oh, okay.
And as soon as I learned, 3 or 4 chords that I could somewhat navigate, I started, playing out in bars there in Boone. I was at Appalachian and played there, and shortly after that we started a band called 5 Point Remedy. Was the first band I was in.
Oh, yeah,
and it was
a
bunch of guys from Shelby, and some of us high school buddies, and some of us met during that we were together for, I guess it was 5 or 6 years, and had some really good times cutting our teeth.
Were you writing then, or just
if
doing
you
covers?
could call it that. we were putting songs together.
Yeah.
I go back and hear some of that sometimes, and I'm thinking, ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
But we were writing songs. We had, we thought we were bad, man. We had 5 or 6 original tunes, and we'd go out and play those in the middle of all the Brown Eyed Girls and the Jokers and all that stuff.
Yeah, some of the first stuff I heard you do was John Prine covers.
Yeah, I love John Prine.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You could make a living.
Yeah. Well, I've got it's funny, I know we talked about this when you were here before. I recorded a bunch of John Prine songs kind of as a way to get started in the studio and learning sort of how to do this, and I invited a bunch of friends that I'd met playing, so I've got all these some of my idols and heroes and peers, with all these John Prine songs recorded, and one of these days I plan to do something with that.
Yeah, I was wondering if we were ever going to see that.
One of these days.
I saw it when I was up here recording, so I know that, I know it's on the wall, and I think about that from time to time.
Yeah, some of that's really, and I'll revisit it every now and then just to get back and listen, and some of it is really, I'm really proud of. So yeah, hopefully we'll get that out.
Now, early on, did you collaborate or did you just do it by yourself?
With songwriting?
Yeah.
I was doing it then the same way I do it now. I just I come to the band with a basic idea of stuff and melody line and lyrics and we just sort of let it. And I had an idea of what I wanted to happen, of course, right. But we luckily I've been in bands with every band I've ever played in was real receptive to that notion and
real open to
and worked hard to make it. Everybody was invested in it and wanted to make it sound good, and I've come up with had some good ones because of that. So
now you also work solo.
Yeah, so, I got to pay the bills.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. You can kiss this man in a lot of different musical arrangements.
All right. Well, the solo thing, I enjoy that, and it's taken me really up until, I started playing in bars, like I said, I was 21, and I'm 39 now, so it's really taken up to the last couple of years where I got comfortable playing.
It does take
solo.
A while. Yeah.
And I never was really a guitar player, and I'm still not a guitar player, but I feel like it's better, I can at least fake it good now, so I actually enjoy playing solo a lot more often.
That's
now.
A harder gig than anybody ever believes.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. It strengthens you. It makes you better in so many ways, and it hardens you to, going and playing some places where nobody's listening or paying any attention, and then when you do get to play for a crowd that's paying attention, it means so much more. It really does. To you.
I mean, how many times have we all killed a song, and if you're lucky, get.
Right.
Yes. I mean, sure. That works on your head a little bit over the years.
Yeah.
But like you say, though, it does make it so much greater when people listen.
Right.
Now, one of my favorite things I heard you do is Broke Down Palace.
Oh yeah.
That was. I see you on acoustic side sometime like that.
Yeah, and there's a backstory to that. I was always a big fans of Brian Edmondson and Tommy Brooks and the Harvest and Oak Grove string band guys, and I'd go see if I was going to go see music in Shelby, that's what or locally who I made plans to go see. And a few years ago, we slowly became friends and acquaintances, and then friends, and then we started playing music together. And I'd go over to Tommy Brooks' house, and they'd get out instruments and start playing, and I would just sit mine down. So I'm just going to sit this right here. But so I was joined Oak Grove String Band in the process, and we still play. As much as we want to, really, with that. But and we still get together here and practice. And I tell you, that's been my best way of practicing is learning harmonies and singing and playing with those guys.
That's where I was going. Is the harmonies there are so exceptional.
Brian Edmondson is a genius. His dad was a famous bluegrass musician, and he learned a lot. And he's so gentle and patient, and he's taught us so much about singing harmony and playing and everything. But he was in the Marines, and he was on a boat for I think it was like 6 months or 9 months or something like that, and he took the Grateful Dead anthology with him. Right. So he knows if you call it, he'll play it.
That's great.
So his Dead catalog is great, and I learned a lot about the Grateful Dead from Brian, and playing stuff and learning those songs with him, and sort of getting to the root of what that was all about. And but that Broke Down Palace was a sort of a culmination of all that, and of course, we had the tragedy there with our friends that worked at Newgrass, and that song was important to a couple of those guys that I knew, and so that was just the timing of that was good, and I was glad to get to do that.
Yeah. That was really fun.
Yeah, I was proud of that one. I think that was.
So run me down some of the bands that you've been in. That you've been the front man of, basically.
Right. So. After 5 Point Remedy, I went and I was living in Charlotte, and I answered a Creative Loafing ad and joined up with some guys in around that area, and we were called Moonshine Jenny. And we started off as a cover band that was supposed to be like a corporate cover band thing, and we got tired of that pretty quick, and we started writing music, and then we went off and did that, and we played a lot, so 6 or 7 years with that band, and we were on the road. We all had day jobs, but we were on every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We were in the van, and from there, I still keep in contact with those guys. They're still good friends, and then from there I went on to play with Roger Paget and Evergreen.
Sure.
Yeah, and that was an interesting time.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a very interesting time.
That was fast and bright. We got together and sort of. I never would have thought it, but we had a lot of chemistry, Roger and I, together, and we enjoyed each other's company. We had a lot of fun, and we were around each other at the right time, and we kind of got each other's. We just both were in the right headspace to hang out together, and then when that sort of began to wane, and we parted company, but we still a friend of mine. I still talk to him, but that was with Phil Simmons, who I play with now in the new thing, But after Evergreen, it was Big Daddy Love, and that was the biggest thing I'd done. Big Daddy Love was already out touring, and they'd made a great name for themselves, and they were playing big festivals, and they had their singer, who we look alike, we sound alike, we write the same. We played a show together at the Grey Eagle in Asheville, Evergreen and Big Daddy Love. And the Big Daddy Love guys told me, they said, if we ever lose our singer, we're gonna get you. And like 2 weeks later, he quit because he didn't want to tour as much. And they called me, and sure enough, so we went out on the road with them for 7 years that I was with them, almost to the day. And we toured. We relentlessly. We were for 4 of those years. We played 250 shows a year, and in 40-something states. And we figured it up one time. The mileage that we put on the van was the same as driving from New York to L.A. 80-something times. That's right. Yeah, so we had a ball and made killer memory and learned so much. I mean, that was really that's when I learned what it meant to be a touring musician and what it took to be successful and to take it to the next levels that you want to take it to. So, but even in that, I was writing music for them. But even then, it was it never did really feel like my own thing. So that's where we ended up now. I just don't want to tour.
Tell me about now.
Yeah. So now is we were slowing down Big Daddy Love and not touring as much, and I was still playing some shows, but we were kind of riding out our retirement tour, and it had been riding that out for about 2 years.
I do know how that goes too.
And I just felt like it was time to. I've never pursued just the solo, and when I say solo, I mean just like the songwriting, just premiere, that avenue, and so I hooked back up with Phil, the bass player from Evergreen, and I was real happy that he was available and willing to play. And the drummer is Scotty Lewis, and we played together in Big Daddy Love, so that was really important to me. That we were on the road for so long, and we're just locked in. I can talk to him without talking to him, And then Derek McCoy was in the studio often with some other guys, and we got to know each other that way. And he's an amazing player.
He's an amazing player.
And he and I our personalities are a lot alike. And we were both real cautious when we got getting to know each other. And it took us a while to warm up to each other. But once we did, he's an interesting character and a great player. And I'm really enjoying the music that we're making. And he's excited about it, and it makes me excited about it. And it just I'm really feel fortunate to have these guys. Involved, not only involved, but actively and excited about it. And then of course played a few shows, and then we hooked up through a whole different set of circumstances with Jay Connor, the sax player, and he plays with Harvest and Brian and Tommy and all those guys. So he's been a great fit, and personality wise and musicianship wise, and just couldn't ask for a better group of guys.
You got a recording project coming?
We do. I've been working on it for a little over a year now, and I just sent it off into the ethos last week, and it's coming out June 25th.
That's good.
Next Tuesday, yeah.
All right, well, let's just slide on over. We're sitting in your recording studio, so tell me how that came about.
Oh, that's been a labor of love for quite a while. I started this my wife and I moved in here, this house 14 years ago, and this building was here. And I thought that'd be a cool place for a studio. Right. And over the next decade, we slowly did some things to it, and started acquiring equipment and blah blah. And then after the 10 years and a few recording projects later, I realized I had no idea what I was doing. So I've been focusing on that lately. And I've got a good friend. His name is Willie Shane Johnston. He's in Red Dirt Revelators, WSMB. He's a killer musician, and he's just a all around good guy, and he's been a mentor of mine for a long time in many ways. But he has a recording engineering degree from Middle Tennessee State, and he's been in here a lot, and he helped me tune this room, and he showed me all the little things that, you know, he'll come in and give me a list of 5 or 6, 7 things that I'm doing wrong in that very moment. Yeah. And we'll fix those, then we'll move on to something else, you know, and so that kind of process I've just barely got a handle on it now. And I've used, like I said, that my projects to cut my teeth on it, and I was able to take the time with this new recording, and I feel like it's got a lot of emotion in it, and it's more relaxed, and it's in a different atmosphere, you know, not like a big studio atmosphere. So I'm actually really proud of the way it turned out, and I'm looking forward to, although I'm going to take a little time off from the studio because I've been in here so much. I'm looking forward to whatever comes next because I've got a lot of new tricks.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. So you've developed this pretty much by word of mouth. I mean, you haven't gone out and tried to.
No, and I don't think I ever will. Truthfully, the studio to me is, I've been in a lot, you know, and I've been in some small ones, I've been in some big ones, and you're just always on the clock, you know, and there's always that financial thing, and I just don't feel like it's hard to be creative in a situation like that. So people,
it's very hard. So
I like the local. I've had a lot of local guys come in here and that's exactly what I tell them. I was like, look, we're not staring at the clock. We're not. Although it's always a good idea to have your stuff together when you come in, but it shouldn't. There's no substitute for just being able to relax and be creative and take some chances, and that's what I'm trying to do here, is just make it comfortable. And so far, I think everybody, you've been here, you recorded here. Yes, how was you comfortable?
I was very comfortable, but I'm not a good endorsement because I'm comfortable everywhere.
So I would say that you are.
I'm not a good judge. I'm pretty comfortable wherever. However, as a band, we were very comfortable.
Good.
And we got some guys in the band that's not comfortable guys.
Yeah, I understand. Well, see, I'm not a comfortable guy, so I appreciate that.
I'm a comfortable guy.
Right.
Do you get nervous? Do you still ever get nervous when you play?
I get nervous. No. I mean, there's some anxious times that the hurry up and wait stuff. You know, you show up for sound check for 4 o'clock and you play at 8 or something. But that's not really a nervousness, and I get more nervous. I would rather play in front of 10,000 people than 10.
Oh, yeah. That's like one of the hardest things I've ever found is to do one of your original songs for somebody you love and care about.
Yeah. I don't like
a stranger. Not a problem, but that's always been hard for me. Yeah. I don't know about other people, but
I get nervous when if I'm playing in Charlotte or somewhere, and a group of my college buddies will come out and hang out, and they you know, I'd rather y'all not come see this.
I totally understand.
And that's weird. People don't get, they don't understand that, but
they don't. And I think it takes both a songwriter and a singer frontman to understand that, because I mean, the eyes are on you, and it's your stuff.
The way I think about it is, if I'm playing somewhere in a place where nobody knows me, I can be whoever I want to be. But now, when people that I know show up, I have to be that guy.
That's really hard. That's really hard. Do you get nervous in the studio when you're okay? Not as a musician, but say when you're recording people.
I did. Like when you guys were in here, and y'all were one of the first that I did. I was not as proficient, and I would get not nervous, but I would get wrapped up in the actual process of it all.
Right.
And now it's changed to where I don't have to think about that as much, so I can experiment with mic placement, or just I can be a little bit more of a producer.
So that's not really nervousness. That's just You always feel
being
better.
comfortable.
Yeah, being comfortable. Exactly.
Yeah,
Which you said you sometimes have a hard time doing. Yeah. All right, then I'm going to move on to something else that is fairly unique about you. You have an Airbnb?
Yeah.
Well, would you like to tell me about it?
Of course.
I do know something about that too. That it's well, you tell me what just happened with your Airbnb.
Oh yeah, so we were contacted a couple weeks ago from Airbnb, and they told us that we were the #1 wish listed property in Cleveland County, and Cleveland County was in the top 20 North Carolina counties. So in other words, we were in the top 20 wish listed in the state, and they did an article about it and just released it yesterday.
That's great.
Yeah, and it was some friends of mine said they saw it on the news, like on their local news stations.
That's where I was going with this.
Yeah.
Well, okay, now it is unique. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So, and I know that you did you're doing this podcast with the McMurray boys and the Syndicate guys. Well, we did a festival, and my wife and I wanted to put on a music festival after we went to a few in our mid-20s, and so we put on a festival in Golden Valley on some family land. It was called Dayglow, and we had Syndicate and Larry Keel and a bunch of bands on that level back then. And we just thought that was the biggest thing going.
It kind of was at the time.
Yeah.
It was.
And the Syndicate guys are idols of mine too, and I tell them that every time I say we just played the show together like 2 weeks ago.
Don Gibson.
And I always like to tell them how they're my heroes. But so that's always a good thing. But so we were looking for some kind of green room for that festival, and we needed somewhere for people to get in the air conditioning and blah blah. And we found an old '83 Ford Bluebird school bus that in the classifieds in like the Auto Trader or something.
Right.
So we went and bought it and drove it around to some festivals and things for a few years, and made some great memories in there. And then it came time to get it. We had to get it inspected a few times through the years we had it. And this last time we were needing tires, and we realized that was going to cost more than we paid for it in the first place.
Right.
So we parked it, and on our property here, and we sort of made it into like a guest house because we did have a lot of musicians, and friends spending the night. So we turned it into like a guest house, and then we were traveling somewhere, and we were turned on to Airbnb. And we started using Airbnb, and we thought, you know what, that'd make a great Airbnb out there at the bus, And so we made some modifications. We built the bathroom here, and
Did you have to redo the bus from being the green room or the band?
no,
bus?
it's almost exactly like it was. Yep. And
did you do all that originally?
so when we bought it, the seats were out.
That's right. That's the worst part of school buses.
The seats were out, but we did the rest. We put flooring in and built a wall, a partition in the back to make like a bedroom, and there were 2 rooftop air conditioners in it, which was great. And
that is great.
So it didn't take a lot, but we did have to make a full bath, for like this accessible for them, and which is just right a few steps away from it. But we thought we would rent it a couple of times, like maybe 5 or 6 times a year, and it turned into something. Now it rents like 20 days a month. It's
That's
insane.
fabulous.
I know. And the funny thing was, at the time, my wife and I were talking about downtown Shelby has, with the revitalization, has really become popular.
It really is.
And it's really a cool place to be now.
Is.
And we talked about a couple different business opportunities down there, and just decided that we weren't, didn't want to be married to something like that. So that little school bus kind of turned into our business that we do together.
That's great. I mean that that's one of those deals where you just kind of fall into it.
Yeah,
it's a great idea, though.
Well, and it took us a while. I mean, it really, and it's funny because it happens organically, and it happens so like little things along the way that we didn't plan on that made it what it is. And the crazy thing is that's how I've approached this new music. Is the same thing. I didn't want to push it or try to make it, and it's happened organically. And I think that's the best thing.
That is the best thing that happens usually in your whole life.
Yeah.
So.
This is Scott Moss and the $100 Handshakes to take us out of here with a new song off of their new album, Chances.
It's not the place that you wanted. It's not the folds in your